My name is Sarah O'Neill. My brand is Eadach, and I'm from the north coast of Ireland. So Eadach is inspired by the stories my granny told me when I was little. It's inspired by Irish myths and legends, social history, and especially women, because we have such incredible women in Ireland, and I love to celebrate them because I think for many years they were overlooked, and so I love to be able to celebrate them through my work. So Ireland is the main inspiration for my designs. It's everything about the island, especially the people. I think obviously we are, it's such a cliche, but we are a nation of storytellers. You know, once you get us started, we can't stop. And it's those stories that I want to pass on. My granny told me all the Irish myths and legends as I grew up, you know, the likes of the Banshee and the Changeling, the Children of Lear. And I just thought I want to be able to pass on these stories. I'll never be able to tell them as well as she does, but the talent I do have is artwork and drawing. So I thought, well, if I could illustrate these legends and I could use then fashion as a vehicle for storytelling. So that's what I have done, and it just gives me such joy to see people wrapped in our stories, and especially on a global stage then to be able to send our stories around the world. And you know, the stories are so important because they're so linked with our past, with our heritage and with our landscape. And so it's just, you know, everywhere you go on the island, be that a city or a town or countryside or the coast, there's always something to inspire, and there's always a story related to the area. And many of those stories haven't been written down. You know, many of them are still, you know, just told by word of mouth, and, you know, or maybe told over social media. So to be able to gather those stories, put them all together and bring them out in a print is just an absolute joy. I'm a North Coast girl, so of course I'm always going to say the North Coast, but then my mum's from Dublin, so I would have spent a lot of time there as well growing up, so I adore Dublin. And I lived in Belfast for 15 years, so honestly all of those places, I take a lot of, I do a lot of work in both Dublin and Belfast, so I'm there quite often. I do a lot of research in the Linen Hall Library in Belfast, which is an incredible space, and I spend a lot of time in Dublin as well. And I love the Yeats exhibition in the National Library. Is incredible. It's always, Yeats has always been a real inspiration for me. I love the way he saw Ireland, so it's always kind of a bit of a touchstone to go back there every year. And then I take a lot of that inspiration from the cities, and even just walking around and looking at the architecture. You know, Belfast has some beautiful Art Deco architecture. Dublin obviously has the gorgeous Georgian architecture, bringing home all of those little details. And then there's something about being on the coast that allows me to process that information so much better. I don't know, it's like the white noise of the sea, and just in a way it's calm and serene, and in a way it never stops. There's such an amazing energy there with, you know, being surrounded by the sea. So there's just, for me, there's just the most amazing, it's like a real potent energy that I get between the cities and the coast. So yeah, I would recommend any of those places, but obviously, you know, Ireland being an island, you know, you've got gorgeous coastlines kind of not too far from anywhere, and they're all worth exploring. I specifically love Ballycastle. Lots of amazing stories around there, in the Sea of Moyle, Children of Lear being one of my favourite stories, and I've revisited that many times. I think there's something about just being there. You can almost, there's a timelessness to it. You could almost imagine that the story actually happening. Do you know what I mean? If you're standing in certain parts of the coast, it's like it hasn't changed in centuries. Or, you know, you see the old kind of ruined castles, you see Dunluce, you see Mussenden Temple, you see Kinbane, and there's something really almost fairy tale quality to that, which I adore.